Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Stirring the Pot. We're back. We are without Gabe Schoen today. But we have an interesting episode planned for you guys. We got everybody here. We got Dom, RJ, John, and myself. Before we get into some football talk, as usual, guys, how you doing?
I have a mixture of emotions right now. It's almost midterms, so I'm sure all of us in this room have a lot of studying that we're going to have to do. And we just witnessed a nail-biter last night for the Mountaineers against Cincinnati, as it was really close.
Oh, it was a great treat to watch, that and doing English at the same time. Letting the NFL offseason give me an excuse to not do my midterm work, but feeling great. John's
Nothing over there from John.
I'm so swamped with work right now. It's getting bad at this point.
Gotta love it.
But I'm sure Dom's just loving the Aaron Rodgers to Sean Elliott photo that got posted earlier.
Yes, he is.
I'm here. He's just loving his future
that
quarterback.
doesn't mean anything. They were just making up. That does not mean anything, John.
We will definitely get into some talk about Aaron Rodgers and a few veteran quarterbacks also later on in the episode, but we're going to get into our first part here. We're going to talk about the NFL Games of the Year. So obviously there were a lot of interesting games that happened this year. There were a lot of nail-biters this year. Interesting year. And John's favorite word, parity, is what we like to call about the NFL regular season this year. A lot of interesting teams made it into the playoffs, especially the Broncos. Everyone thought the Broncos weren't exactly. I was going to say the Chargers as well.
The Chargers, I mean, you can see the Chargers making more than the Broncos. And Commanders are the two biggest ones, really.
I did not think that Joe Alt was going to be that impactful, but then I saw him on the field, get his nickname and everything. And, I mean, these two teams were both in a rebuild phase, but they got all the way to the wild card in 1 year. Impressive.
I mean, he came out in his, draft Zoom call in, a turtleneck. So,
yeah, you knew
with zero aura, Bible verse in his Instagram bio. That's a future All-Pro Hall of Famer right there.
Iowa's finest, baby.
What's interesting about this segment is I thought everybody was going to pick one game, but everybody here has picked a different game, which is impressive. And there's some games that I didn't even think I didn't even remember until somebody said it.
Yeah.
There was a lot this year.
There was a lot of interesting games this year, and let's just get the elephant out of the room. My team was at the butt end of most of them. I think we've had at least 4 different games thrown around that the Cincinnati Bengals were in, and only one of them they won. But we'll get into our games of the year. I'll start. Speaking of the devil, Cincinnati Bengals versus the Washington Commanders. This was week 4 in the NFL. Obviously, it was a long time ago. A lot of people forget about it, but this is definitely the game of the year for me because no punts, no turnovers, down to the wire. It came down to the last, I believe, 40 seconds, and it was an onside kick attempt that failed. And if the Cincinnati Bengals recovered that onside kick, this might go down as one of the greatest games ever played because it was nonstop action, nonstop offense. There was no such thing as defense in this game. Like I said, no turnovers, no punts. And I think it's the first or second time in NFL history that there was no punts and no turnovers in a football game.
It sounds like your average Big 12 game in 2015.
Yeah, it sounds like one of those typical shootouts that you find in those, like you said, random Big 12 games. But standout performances from this game. Joe Burrow threw for 324 and 3 touchdowns. Jaden Daniels threw for 254 and 2 touchdowns. And this was kind of his, hey, I'm here kind of game. Commanders obviously started 2-1, and my Cincinnati Bengals started 0-3. This marked a turning point in both of these teams' seasons. This lit a fire under the Cincinnati Bengals. Even though they didn't really do much with that fire, it was a pretty dormant flame. But this really kickstarted a really special season for the Washington Commanders. And I hate to say it, but this is the most deserving win that the Commanders could have had. I think obviously you got to look at the games like the Lions game. That was a very deserved win. If you can win a game like this, we should have known back then. If you can win a game like this against an offense so potent like the Cincinnati Bengals, you're legit. And so many people, it kind of went under their radars because Jaden Daniels was a rookie. But in my opinion, this was by far the best game of the year. There's a lot of close ones, and I'll hand it over to Dom. Give me your game of the year.
All I can think about is that Cincinnati game is the battle between the two former LSU guys. I mean, it just shows that LSU produces two really good produces good quarterbacks. I'm excited to see what the buzz will be about Garrett Nussmeier in a few years here. But my game, and I honestly thought that a lot of other people in this room would have picked this, I'm going to have to give it to the Buffalo Bills against the Rams. Now, I picked this game because I feel like this game alone is the reason that Josh Allen got his MVP. This is the moment that you can say, wow, I mean, This just puts him on a level above Lamar Jackson. I mean, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame because of this game, because 3 rushing touchdowns, 3 passing touchdowns, first quarterback to ever do it. And the Rams don't get enough credit in this game. I mean, Matthew Stafford, there's a lot of film going around. He was able to make like across-the-body throws with ease, accuracy, still showing that he still had the ability to play at his maximum capacity. And I mean, this kind of happens with the Rams every year. I mean, they have a terrible start to the season. They kind of look like a lackluster team, but it's always that middle part of the season where the Rams begin to pick it up, where they really can kind of punch any team in the face, and they always make the wild card. They made the divisional this year. They were 14 yards away from the Super Bowl if Matt Stafford completed that pass. But this just goes to show how valued of a player Josh Allen is. I mean, it was all him this game. And the fact that they still lost the game, I mean, it's sad for Josh Allen, but still, guys, this is why he deserved the MVP. You can't even, like, Lamar couldn't have put up a game like this. I mean, he could put up a 6-touchdown game against, I think it was 5 or 6 touchdowns, right?
Yeah.
John Yedman fantasy against Tampa Bay that one game.
Tampa,
but he had so many other contributors such as Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, Josh Allen has Zay Flowers.
I'd go more Isaiah Likely.
Isaiah Likely, but still, way to go, Josh Allen, for this game. This will go down in history. You'll never see a game like this again.
Yeah, and the quarterback stat lines, I think it was back-to-back historic stat lines for Josh Allen. This was the game right before he had a rushing touchdown, a passing touchdown, and a receiving touchdown in the same game, which I think is the first time any quarterback's ever done it.
San Fran?
Any player's ever done it, I think. But yeah, honestly, what a stretch for Josh Allen. Those 2 games are honestly what propelled his MVP case. And obviously, voter fatigue. We're going to get into some NFL awards talk about the awards and who won them, what we think about it. But that's a great game. Obviously, cemented Josh Allen's MVP case. And yeah, all right, RJ.
Switching over to the NFC. This was more earlier. This is week 7 of the NFL season, and this game brought Minnesota back down to earth. The Detroit Lions and Minnesota Vikings in week 7 had a great... I picked this matchup because it was a great all-around matchup. And when I look at this game specifically, I mean, I'm looking at the 2 quarterbacks. Jared Goff, a guy who used to rule L.A. and the Rams, being their former starting quarterback. In this game, he went 22 for 25, had 280 yards passing and 2 touchdowns with a big 0 in the interception category. While Sam Darnold, he even had a great performance himself, 22 for 27 and 259, a touchdown, but it did have a pick, and that was Brian Branch who got that interception. And this game was really, I guess, kind of like its lackluster normal game. Minnesota jumped out to a 10-0 first quarter lead, but then Detroit came barreling in, especially Jahmyr Gibbs having 2 big touchdowns in the second quarter, one for 45 yards and 1 for 8 yards, and then Amon-Ra having a 35-yard catch from a bomb from Jared Goff. And I think really for this game as well is the quarterbacks were in a great battle. The running backs were in a great battle. The wide receivers were in a great battle. The only part, I guess, from offense, defense, or special teams that didn't really have a good battle was the defenses for giving up so much. But, I mean, I'm even comparing running backs here. Jahmyr Gibbs went 15 for 116, and he was averaging 7.7 yards a carry, and both of his touchdowns obviously coming in that second quarter. But he also made an impact in receiving a little bit, having 4 for 44, so averaging around 11. And you have also Aaron Jones, who had 14 carries, but just shy of 100 yards with 93, and him having 6.6 yards a carry. Obviously, for running backs, when you expect them to handle the ball, you usually don't expect that amount of volume per carry, and then he also did end up getting a touchdown as well. But I think what really helped Detroit get this big win was the performance by Amon-Ra, having only 8 catches but still having 112 yards and then a touchdown also. He was averaging almost a first down and a half per catch every time he caught the ball, which is pretty insane. And Minnesota had great production from 3 of their receivers, Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, obviously being the big 2. Jefferson went 7 for 81, Addison 3 for 66. Then you also had Jalen Naylor, one of those kind of underrated guys on that Minnesota wide receiving core, having 4 for 76. I mean, they're all averaging over a first down and a half per catch, which I think is pretty insane. You don't really see that often in the NFL. Usually, if it's games like that, it's usually one receiver going off and kind of carrying that production. The total offensive yardage in this game, especially for a great NFC North matchup, which I think this matchup here kind of showed you, like, wow, these are like the 2 heavy hitters of the division, and potentially the best division last year in the NFL, being the NFC North. They had a total of 744 offensive yards this game, Detroit having 391, Minnesota having 383, so very, very close, and that difference of between under 10. The first downs was 35 total between both teams, 19-16 in favor of Detroit. I think something you could also kind of look at was third down percentage this game. Both teams were 4 for 10 on third down, which it isn't the best numbers, obviously, but I think seeing that consistency and seeing the defense were getting a little bit of the stops on third down, I think it was pretty huge considering. There was an average punts. It's lower than average, I would say. It was 7 total punts. There was only 2 turnovers. There's one from each team. That Brian Branch interception I mentioned, and Detroit having a fumble. This game was capped off, though, by Jake Bates hitting a clutch 44-yard field goal for the win to break the hearts of all the Minnesota Skull faithful. And I think really for this game, you obviously look at the other games like the Cincinnati-Baltimore games, just to name a couple of those. And I think what really set this game apart is being early in the year. Obviously, we saw what Detroit did, but obviously it was that former success of Detroit in the past, in the previous last season or 2 seasons ago now, against a team like Minnesota, and seeing what Sam Darnold was doing and kind of that fast riser of a guy at quarterback. And you can't really say he lost you this game because he played great football. Obviously, you could talk about the pick, I think, if you're being nitpicky, but I think he did the best he could. There wasn't really a glaring spot between either of these teams, and also time of possession was pretty much the same. Minnesota barely leading that category by around a minute. So I think this was one of the more underrated games, but I think a game I enjoyed watching considering it was so back and forth. Like, you weren't just leaning back and just watching. You were up almost on your feet for some of that fourth quarter, just seeing Minnesota trying to pry back with the 2 field goals and the touchdown to tie it. They tried to go for the 2-point conversion to have a 3-point lead instead of a 1-point lead, but they ended up failing that. So I think it was pretty intense of a game for the NFC North, and I think a division that you can now see potentially getting a lot of more primetime games in the future. So that was my game.
Yeah, and these 2 teams had a very crucial matchup in the last week of the season. That was to decide the division and to decide the number 1 seed. Obviously, the Lions came out on top, and the Vikings kind of got, for lack of better words, they kind of got hoed. They got the 5 seed. They
got Gibbs.
They had they had the second best record in the NFC and got the 5 seed.
See you in 2 weeks, though, right?
Yeah.
None of them made it.
See you in 2 weeks, and they both saw each other in 2 weeks
in Cancun.
In Cancun. Yeah, they saw them on the beach. John, what about your game?
With Mike Tomlin at the reservation table
and Vontae Davis.
I was gonna go with Bengals Broncos late in the year. A big reason why I picked this game was because this is one of the first games that really had a big playoff feel to it. In a sense, the Bengals had to win this game if they wanted to stay alive in the postseason, as they're kind of making that late push in the year to get a wild card spot after a slow start. And the Broncos was a win and end game, and they had a very hard second half of the schedule. And they were playing their hearts out to try to get this win and make it into the playoffs when a lot of people didn't think they would be there early in the year. But it was just some great football being played all around, mostly from both quarterbacks. Joe Burrow and Bo Nix both had 3 touchdowns and over 200 yards. Burrow had 412 yards in the air, which is pretty crazy for a guy who threw the ball 50 times. I think Chase Brown might have gotten hurt early in this game. I'm not sure if I recall or not. Maybe next game. But I mean, this game really came down to the wire with Bo Nix making a few big passes to Marvin Mims. One just complete deep shot down the field. Then an absolutely insane 4th down play late in the game to like a 30-yard pass to tie the game, where Mims has to toe tap it in the back of the end zone. It's really the first time you have to see him like sling the ball deep, because he, as everybody knows, he's kind of much more of a short passer. That's kind of how Peyton utilized him. But this is the first time you saw him really step up and like command his team to make that crazy comeback. And then Bengals win it in overtime on a T. Higgins touchdown. T. Higgins had 3 touchdowns for 131 yards in what might be his last ever home game in Cincinnati. More on that later probably. But just both teams really playing their hearts out, and 2 quarterbacks stepping up in the big moments in a game that they both kind of had to win. Obviously, this playoff race really had a really kind of sour conclusion, with the Chiefs kind of rolling out the bad news Bears in the last week of the year, and the Broncos beating up on them to keep the Bengals out of the playoffs. But this was really one of the true first atmosphere games we had this year. I think it was just great fundamental football being played around. I mean, the Broncos had 7 sacks, 3.5 of those coming from Zach Allen, and a big 4th down stop at the goal line early in the game. Just great all-around football. One of the first competitive down-to-the-wire games we saw that really mattered for something late in the year.
Yeah, and obviously, like we were saying before we got onto our games, one of the surprise teams of the year being the Broncos obviously had one of the breakout players of the year, in my opinion, in Nick Bonito. He was great for this team. He was such a difference maker, and he's honestly a large reason why this team made the playoffs. But like John said, the Cincinnati Bengals could have very easily taken their spot if they had won either of those Baltimore games.
Wait, was Benito the guy who picked up Anthony Richardson?
He was the guy who picked off Adonai Mitchell.
Adonai Mitchell? Oh, okay.
Yep.
Do
you want to touch on some more games you may have forgotten to talk about?
There's a lot. There's actually quite a few.
There's a few. It's
quick roundabout. I mean, one game I want to give a shout out to was a game that did not end up mattering, but it was just an incredible game that did not matter. Falcons-Panthers in Week 18. I believe the Falcons.
I think it does matter.
I believe the Falcons came into this game with a chance to make the playoffs,
and they lost.
But someone, I think the Bucks.
Needed to lose.
The Bucks won their game late in the 4th quarter, so it didn't matter whether they won.
It does matter because it shows growth in Carolina.
But this was just a 44-38.
It was the Bryce
Young
show.
had 5 touchdowns.
Which, if you want to learn more about the Carolina Panthers, next episode we're going to do a deep dive into that. But
yes, we will.
A shout out to a game that nobody was probably going to watch, that RJ and me both sat on the couch, watched a full game. Browns-Broncos, Monday Night Football. Nobody was expecting that to be the shootout that it was. Nobody was expecting Jerry Jeudy to almost set records for the Browns.
Yeah, I believe he was really close to Amari Cooper's record. A single game receiving record that he got against the Texans a couple years ago. I think the really sad thing about this is Winston almost went for 500 yards, but yet was still the reason the Cleveland Browns lost, which I think, if we're looking at quarterbacks, I don't think you ever say that unless Jameis Winston is involved in it in some form. But, yeah, that was a very interesting game. I thought we had a chance there. I can't believe I'm even saying that, considering we were 3-9 at the time, or I think 3-8, something like that. But it was a great game. Beautiful.
I think another one that we should talk about was the Kirko Chain's 500-yard passing game.
I was just about to say that.
I mean, that one's so underlooked.
To be fair, he did have 58 pass attempts.
Yeah,
so they did kind of spam the pass. Thank you, Bijan Robinson, for going half a yard under my prop. We don't condone gambling here at U92 The Moose, but on this podcast, we're going to talk about it because Bijan Robinson cheated me out of $100. But Drake London having an absolute legacy game. 12 catches, 154 yards, and a touchdown. And Kirko, like you said, threw for 500 yards, 4 touchdowns. That one pick wasn't necessarily his fault. He kind of had to force the ball into double coverage. But going into overtime, talk about the unsung hero, Kadarrell Hodge. 45-yard catch down the seam for the win. Honestly, 45 yards through the heart of the South. But great game all around. This is one of those games that, like we said, actually didn't really matter in the end because even if the Bucs won this game, they would have. Honestly, the last game of the year is really what mattered. The Panthers-Falcons is the one that mattered.
After this one, Atlanta kind of fell off a cliff after this game.
Yeah.
And it never came back.
I have a game for you guys. Another game, considering two of your teams.
No,
I have it on my screen right
He's gonna
here.
say it. And it's,
Week 13, the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Cincinnati Bengals, 44-38. Where, oh my God, yeah, Russell Wilson threw for 414 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick, and then Burrow's throwing for 309, 3 touchdowns and a pick.
that wasn't that great of a game.
But just looking at it, it's just so funny to me. You just
Fourth
see
quarter was the best.
field
part.
goal. Chris Boswell, Najee Harris run with, guess what, a Chris Boswell extra point.
Dude, give Chris Boswell the MVP.
You know what?
honestly.
Best game of the year, Week 1, Steelers-Falcons. Chris Boswell wins
Oh
the
my
game,
God.
6
no.
field
All
goals.
right, and we're talking about Chris Boswell. It's time to move on. Let's talk about some NFL honors. Obviously, we did not get to talk about the NFL honors. I think we briefly touched on the fact that Josh Allen won MVP. So I'm going to go through the major winners of these awards, of the major awards, and then honestly, I'll just give it to you guys. Say which one you like or which one you don't like and who you think should have won it instead. Josh Allen taking home the MVP over Lamar Jackson. That's a pretty hot take for a lot of people in the NFL community.
Oh,
but
the bias.
yeah, that's pretty biased. But when you think about it, it's MVP, not MVSL, most valuable stat line. Kevin O'Connell taking home Coach of the Year. That was a bit of an interesting one because there was a candidate that I will be talking about in a second. Pat Surtain getting Depoy over Trey Hendrickson. Joe Burrow, Comeback Player of the Year, which a lot of people thought it should have been. J.K. Dobbins. I thought it should have been J.K. Dobbins.
There's good candidates this year. There were good candidates.
Yeah. Saquon winning Offensive Player of the Year. That one, not really much contest there.
Yeah.
There's really only one person I would have put up there, too, but he didn't have the
Who?
stat line to get it. Jamar Chase.
That's pretty rare.
Or Lamar, honestly. Lamar probably could have won it. I would have rather go to a
It's
position.
okay.
I would have rather went to a
It's
position.
okay.
player.
He's got his
Ever
flowers
give it to
enough in
quarterbacks
previous
ever.
awards.
They do.
I mean,
Lamar won it a few years back.
it's more of a best non-quarterback offensive player of the year award.
Pretty much.
I think the only one that goes without a debate was probably Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Yep.
Jaden Daniels
Jaden
ran
Daniels.
away with that.
There's some people that were saying Bo Nix,
I think-
but no. Bo, you were good, but not good enough as JD5.
Personally, I don't see much debate for Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think Jared Verse was far and away the most impactful rookie.
He's a great
in
pick.
the regular season. Obviously, we're not talking playoffs because if it was playoffs, Cooper DeJean. But Jared
And
Verse,
Jalen Carter.
he's not a rookie.
Oh, no, he's not a rookie. Never mind. I don't know why I said
No, but the two corners in Philadelphia are the ones that people were talking about. I think Jared Verse easily had this award. He was by far the most impactful player in the regular season for his team. They were missing one of those maulers on the defensive line. They lost Aaron Donald, and they didn't replace him. But we'll see if they did replace him. But one that I do want to talk about is Coach of the Year. I thought that somebody got snubbed. And
I
I'm
wouldn't
really,
say that.
And I'm really sad that Gabe Schoen's not here because I think Dan Quinn just got snubbed.
I don't think he did.
No,
He made the
NFC
NFC championship.
It's not a playoff award.
Well, yeah.
Well,
A playoff award.
the way
He took
I
the
look
second
at it,
overall pick.
the way I look at it, Connor, is why Dan Campbell didn't get it last year. It's exactly
Yeah.
the same thing from last year. Kevin Stefanski got it because he battled a lot of adversity. O'Connell gets it because he battled a lot of adversity.
Just
JJ
say
McCarthy
he battled
goes out.
Sam Darnold.
Well,
Just say
he
that
made Sam
never.
Darnold a good product, and he was still able to put up a great record for his team with the situations
this team
that
is
happened.
almost
injuries.
the ones. This
It
team
was
won like 14 games.
Yeah,
15
second
games?
best NFC record. I mean, when it comes to something like that, I think you obviously, if you were to go into the season saying who had more potential, Jaden Daniels or Sam Darnold, you were probably going to say Jaden Daniels eventually.
Yeah, nobody thought Sam Darnold was going to win that many games.
Yeah, that's fair.
Even though he was probably carried a lot by
Probably one of the
his roster.
stronger years I would say for Coach of the Year. I would argue.
Yeah, and Assistant Coach of the Year was an interesting one, too. Ben Johnson obviously was going to get that one, but I
did
think
you
somebody...
want?
I wanted Cliff Kingsbury. He wasn't even in the top
Fair.
5,
He should have been in there, yeah.
which was
That's a
insane.
snub.
That's the real snub. The Commanders coaching staff needs so much praise for this year because they took a roster that was second overall pick worthy, boosted it up, and got it to the NFC Championship. Obviously, it's a regular season award, but I just think that needed to be said.
I'm assuming everybody here, though, was happy that Josh Allen won.
Yes. Oh,
and I know there's a lot of people that are getting really angry about this. They're like, oh, my God, Josh Allen snubbed Lamar from the award. Lamar deserved it way more than Josh Allen.
Christian McCaffrey should have won it last year.
Yeah,
Honestly,
voter fatigue.
this might be a hot take. I think Saquon should have won it.
No.
I think Saquon should have won it.
No.
I mean, they would never give it to him, but I don't get how you can look at the season and not see
that
it.
Philly offense was too potent.
That Philly team was an NFC Championship contender with or without Saquon.
Saquon would have broken Eric Dickerson's record if he kept playing.
That's a rough
They're an
statement.
NFC Championship
I
contender
wouldn't have said
without
they were a
Saquon.
Super Bowl material. I would have said
That
they were at
defense?
least a playoff.
I'd say the defense takes home the MVP for that team.
Saquon really,
I don't know. They locked up their
really
wide
elevated
receivers
that
some
team.
games.
I mean,
He
this team was a
did.
first-round exit.
Saquon really
Okay.
opened up that
I ju-
offense, but there's so many playmakers, and
I just-
Josh Allen doesn't really have much to work with.
I was just going to say, I just want to ask
Exactly
one
why.
question. How would the Buffalo Bills be without Josh Allen?
I mean,
God, they would be bottom of their division.
yeah,
They'd
no,
be
no,
competing
Not
with
bottom.
the best
No, I
four.
wouldn't say
No.
bottom of the division. That division's
Oh,
horrible.
okay. They would
Patriots
be
were
They'd be
competing
third.
with Miami.
No. The
Who
Dolphins.
would be the
Dolphins.
replacement? That's
What's
the
that?
thing. Like, you can talk about would they be better without him, but who's that replacement?
it's a hard question to answer. But I'll pose
Isn't
you
their
guys
backup
this.
still Matt Barkley?
Matt,
or whatever?
it's Mr.
No, it
Trubisky.
was Mitchell
Oh
Trubisky.
no, it is Mitch.
My favorite,
So
Money
what do you
Mitch.
think?
this?
Are you saying replace Josh Allen with Mitch in this situation?
This
Is that
Bills
what-
team is not good.
So say
This
you
Bills
put
team is not good besides Josh
Trubisky
Allen.
in at quarterback, and say you put Kenneth Gainwell at running back for the Eagles. What team makes
Wait,
the playoffs?
I think a better. I think a
Bobby,
better.
the
far better
Eagles are better.
That's
built
about the
around.
same caliber.
Connor, I think a good comparison here would be Brock Purdy because his team last year when they did that Super Bowl run,
He's not
his
good.
team was stacked. That is why Brock Purdy he's stat padded because it's of course Christian McCaffrey. You have two good receivers.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if you took Brock Purdy, put him on the Buffalo Bills. How good would they be? Probably not that good. They probably wouldn't have made the playoffs. Sorry, Brock Purdy.
I
but
saw
not
this
sorry.
question being posed. Would anybody on the Bills start on the Eagles?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Who?
Josh Allen.
Besides
Oh,
Josh
of course,
Allen.
Josh.
Besides Josh
Allen.
Allen. Any offensive player on the Bills starting the Eagles?
Offensive.
The fact that Cook
Any
would be
of
a
them?
second, James Cook would be a second. Oh my
well,
God!
James Cook would be the secondary running back.
But he's not
Any
starting.
wide receivers? Khalil
Yeah,
Shakir
that's
doesn't
a-
beat
yeah.
out. Maybe Khalil Shakir gets it over Jahan Dotson.
No, I still think Jahan Dotson fits the Eagles scheme much
Wow.
better.
Okay.
That just shows that,
Mari?
like, this Bills team.
Cooper?
He's washed.
No, he's not. Don't
Who?
say that.
He's pretty,
Don't
he's
talk
pretty
about him like
washed.
that.
He's pretty washed.
Wait,
You wish
who?
you could have a
Amari
receiver like
Cooper.
him.
He's pretty washed. Yeah.
He's not. Don't talk about him like that.
The
Like,
Browns got very lucky that he tanked.
He'll be in cut soon. Don't worry, guys.
Yeah.
He'll get his card.
Honestly, yeah. I think what people like to say is that Lamar had the better stats. I
Okay,
feel
buddy.
like Josh Allen was so much more valuable to his team, though, and its most valuable player.
All right.
Not best player.
It's not best player.
Lamar-
Lamar was the
Yeah.
best player in the league.
Did we make the divisional
Allen was
though,
the most
Lamar?
valuable.
No, we didn't. Did we go to the Super Bowl, Lamar? No, we
And
didn't.
Dan Orlovsky, thank you so much. I never thought I'd be praising Dan Orlovsky. Thank you for defending most valuable player
That was
in the
great.
media.
That was
thank
great
you,
take
Dan
by him.
Orlovsky.
That was great take.
I never thought that I would agree with Dan Orlovsky, but I did.
I mean, comparing media now, Orlovsky, as much as this could be controversial to say,
I love you, Troy Aikman.
it's oh my God, yes. And Troy Aikman
My
actually
king.
being honest about the Dallas Cowboys. I think what Orlovsky does a great job of giving that player perspective, knowing that he was a former quarterback. Obviously, he was on that, or I think he was that starter on the 0-16 Lions team.
He was.
But still, you get that insight from NFL players, and I think different between media panelists who haven't played and have played, you can tell kind of the way they talk about certain things and like locker room morale. And I think just to name an example, I think is something that's a very key difference.
I also like going off that former player perspective. I love J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt gives a lot of good takes, and especially a lot about defensive linemen. He gives you it straight. He will not sugarcoat it for you. But that seems to be a pretty common trait. I feel like the only other one that we can talk about that has some kind of interesting take, Defensive Player of the Year. I think Surtain deserved it head over heels, but you got to feel bad for Trey Hendrickson, man.
Oh yeah, leading the league in sacks. I think the thing that killed him is that unit was scrutinized the whole year.
If they made the playoffs, I think he gets it.
I
it's
don't
close.
know.
It's closer.
If they make the playoffs, I think Burrow gets MVP.
But Surtain is like he's had an incredible year. Lockdown guy. I mean, that whole Broncos unit, their whole defense has been great.
That
like we
unit,
said.
yeah, especially earlier in the year, that Denver unit, especially when they played at Baltimore, that game was so hyped up because it's all Lamar and this great offense against this great Denver defense that kind of is led by Patrick Surtain and obviously the Nick Bonito, I think, somebody you mentioned earlier, having like that big of a matchup, and considering a team like Baltimore, yes, they didn't do well in the playoffs. I mean, shock, but I mean they're really great in the regular season. So I think that kind of shows that. I think since Denver got in the playoffs, I think they kind of use that as kind of leeway for that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I was a little concerned about how the Broncos were going to look defensively when they traded away Bradley Chubb. I thought Bradley Chubb was one of their big difference makers, and Nick Bonito has obviously surpassed him. I thought Bradley Chubb was going to be special. He's not. But Surtain is one of the most gifted defensive players I've ever seen. He has potential to be one of the best corners ever, in my opinion. And there's not a lot of corners that you see nowadays win Defensive Player of the Year. I think the most recent one was Stephon Gilmore, right?
I believe so, yeah.
And I mean, he's so versatile. You can put him in any kind of coverage. He's going to lock you down no matter what. But it's going to be interesting to see how he grows along with this really young Denver team. I did not think they were going to be making the playoffs this year. Everyone thought this was going to be their, all right, let's tank and get some good guys. They already have the good guys. They just needed to discover them. Any more thoughts on the honors?
I just felt like they did a very good job this year. I feel like every guy who got the award deserved it in some way. I was very happy with all the results. There was nobody that really got snubbed out this year. There's some like biased, angry people right now, but still, I feel like this was like one of the best NFL awards that I've seen in a long time.
There's I feel like for any of these awards, there's at least two candidates.
There's a lot of strong
comfortable
candidates
with them winning.
Yeah, I was very comfortable with most of them. I mean, comeback player of the year was tough too.
If comeback player of the year is an interesting one.
You had a lot of good candidates there.
They switched the format for it like 3 times or something like that, so I don't even know what the parameters are anymore. There's like 3 strong candidates that could have easily won this. I think Darnold could have won it. J.K. Dobbins is who I thought was going to win it.
J.K. had a very good case.
But
didn't he get hurt late in the year?
yeah.
Yeah,
probably
but
hurt
here's
his
the thing,
case.
John. He's been hurt like 3 years in a row, and this is the first time I've seen him play for like more than 8 weeks. So that's a good feat for him.
Just getting
What
hurt.
do you mean? Yeah, but yep.
Well, he got hurt late in the year. He didn't play a full season.
He had like ACL, MCL.
He played like 14 games.
He had like an ACL, MCL, another injury 3 years in a row. Ravens kicked him off. He comes back.
He could have been.
Jim Harbaugh gives him a shot, and he performs well.
I think it was Achilles, ACL, Achilles again.
Okay, yeah. Well, still, that's a lot to recover from, and you're still able to put out a good performance.
Obviously, you had to give Burrow an award in some kind of way. Led the league in passing touchdowns, obviously top 3 in QBR. And he's coming off an injury that if he had played last year, that team would have made the playoffs.
I feel like if he would have had a winning record, at the very least, Lamar would have been third in an MVP race. It would have been him against Josh.
Yeah, that's where the line gets really fine.
It's difficult. It is very difficult,
especially when there's so many quality.
I feel like if Burrow won that game week 1 against New England, that it would be a lot tougher to call the MVP.
If he beat Baltimore one of the times when it was like a 3-point game, both times.
Way too many close games for Cincinnati.
Yeah, that just shows you that they need a defense. Any more thoughts on honors before we get into some news?
I think one of the guys that snubbed for a comeback, I think you got to feel bad for Sam Darnold. I think the bad thing for him is he kind of ended off on a really bad note, obviously before the playoffs. Then you definitely saw in the playoffs, you're like, oh my God, this isn't even close. I think that really tanked his free agency value, but we'll get into that obviously later in the coming weeks.
Yes, we will. We will be getting into some really interesting off-season topics within the next few weeks, but let's go into some news around the league. Let's start with my team, because that's the first one I have here. The Bengals are planning to put the franchise tag on T. Higgins, and honestly, it makes sense. You don't want to let a guy of his caliber just walk. But it's going to be interesting because they are trying. Obviously, the salary cap were raised by I think at least $20 million this year, which I think marks the biggest back-to-back salary cap raise year. I think it's $50 million over 2 years. 40 or 45, 50 million, something like that.
It's only going to get bigger,
It's only going to get bigger, but that does leave more room for bigger contracts. The Bengals are planning to attempt to re-sign Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Trey Hendrickson, to long-term deals. I don't like it either.
It's not.
I don't know if it's possible.
I want Chase and Higgins. I don't want Hendrickson.
Why?
Because we can draft a defensive end in this draft. It's a very largely defensive.
But you guys can't draft defense though. I think for the most part, the Bengals these past couple years have not been able to draft immediate defense.
Or your waiver pickups have been okay, like Geno Stone.
If we can somehow find an
Free
edge
agency.
in the first round, those first round edge rushers are nuts. It doesn't really matter.
This guy
who you
thinks
get.
they're gonna get Abdul.
I'm a bit
Carter.
different.
No, I don't.
Look at this guy.
Yeah.
Look at this
He's
guy.
smiling.
I don't think we get Abdul. I think the realistic one
James Pierce.
is Mike Green or Nick Scorton, because I think James Pierce is getting mocked in the top 15 now.
To anybody at home, Connor's currently wearing an Abdul Carter sweatshirt with an Abdul Carter hat. So
Yeah, it's a dog.
Yeah, he's
bro.
Yeah,
he's
it's a
hoping
dog.
that he goes to the Cincinnati Bengals.
See,
I'm
I
actually-
talked
I
about this.
I
Malachi
feel like-
Starks
For the
guy.
record, I'm actually wearing a Marines crew neck. Hoorah. John, you go.
I was gonna say, I feel like Higgins is the odd one out here.
He's
I
not.
like this
Even
defense.
I think even
I
if
feel like
you
he's the odd one out here.
if you offer him that franchise tag, he's not signing.
I feel like he's
He's
replaced.
not
I feel
going.
like
He said he wants to stay.
I don't
feel
think
like
Cincinnati wants to let
I don't
him
think I'm
walk.
gonna give him.
They're not gonna let him walk.
I don't
'Cause-
think it's a smart move to pay two receivers. I think Chase has to get paid.
Well,
I think
yeah.
the Bengals should be smart
And
enough to know that.
there's insiders saying that he's going to become, obviously he's going to become the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. He's going to command $40 million a year. That's
Great.
quarterback numbers.
Now he's
He's
raising
worth
up.
it. I
He's
think-
worth it.
Here's
I
the
think
problem.
you can
There's very
find.
rare.
I think it's easier to find good receivers because you don't need T. Higgins. He's a good player, but he's kind of a luxury player. I
This
feel
screws
like, for
the
you
market
guys.
too for other teams trying
You
to
can
sign.
find other receivers who can give you similar production.
So, coming from a Bengals fan, I've honestly watched a good share of Bengals games. Do you know what T. Higgins brings to this offense? I've said it multiple times on
Open
this
middle
podcast.
lane,
No.
like tight end type of role.
Yep,
He clears
that's
out.
exactly what he does. He brings wide receiver catchability and wide receiver route running with wide receiver speed and tight end gravity.
Here's another problem,
He's
John.
6'4".
I don't think Cincinnati wants to let him walk because he can go to another team that can win a Super Bowl like that. Like,
And you know what?
Yep. And
Guess-
he can go to a division rival. He could go to Baltimore.
No.
He could go to
They're
Pittsburgh.
gonna go
He's
for.
Nope.
They're gonna
I
go
know.
for a
Commanders'
tag and
number
trade.
one destination.
They're gonna
That's
go
what
for a
I
tag
think they're
and
going to
trade.
do. But you know what's an underrated destination for him? Jacksonville.
I've heard New
I've heard
England.
He
New
played in
England.
college with Lawrence.
I've heard
He played at Clemson with
Jacksonville.
Lawrence.
I've heard New England. And I've heard Carolina.
Not only that,
He's not
John,
going to New England.
but he could be a
Not Carolina.
wherever he
Not
goes.
Carolina.
He's going to be a number one wherever he goes. He's going to be the
That
number one
depends.
guy.
Unless
you do
it's
not want to let
Cincinnati.
him walk.
I think I don't know how he. It's weird. I don't know how he'd be as a wide receiver one because I watched him as a wide receiver one. He wasn't that great as a wide receiver one. His first year in the league, he came in and it was him and Tyler Boyd. He took over the wide receiver one role from Tyler Boyd. He wasn't that great.
Probably because it's rookie year.
Well, yeah, but like when Chase came in, he played wide receiver one for basically 2 years, 1.5. His first year in the league, he was wide receiver two. Took over for Tyler Boyd at midway through. Wasn't all that great. Burrow's rookie year, I think, is where, or no, Burrow's second year. Burrow's first full year in the
Super
league.
Bowl year. Super Bowl year, right?
Was
I'm
that
pretty sure it's Super
21?
Bowl year. Yeah.
Am I?
That
I might. I might
would
be
have
getting
been
my
Chase's
years wrong.
rookie year.
Yes.
I think it's his rookie year.
But
I feel like Jamar Chase elevates whoever's next to him. in
Oh,
receiver
wow,
because he
John, like
commands so
Jordan
much
Addison
attention.
and
I-
Justin Jefferson.
I feel like Jamar Chase is going to get just like mauled without T. Higgins out there. T. Higgins creates so much gravity that he creates
possible.
space for
Mike
Chase.
Gesicki and Chase Brown have added a
I mean,
lot to
here's
your
the-
offense
and here's
this
the
year.
Yes, they
You
have.
can't
I
even lie
love
about
Mike
that.
Gesicki.
You can't just let T. Higgins walk and not
No.
replace him. But I think you're in a good spot to get a good pass catcher in the draft, whether that's a tight end or a receiver.
Okay.
What
And
do we
I
trade
think-
him for is the thing.
I feel like the Bengals
I
would
don't
be
know
fine.
It'd
if they
probably
let
be
him
a
What's he
second,
worth?
maybe a first, probably definitely. You
I-
can definitely get a second for him.
See, I wouldn't feel comfortable with somebody so important to the offense going for a second round
The
pick.
reality is,
Like, I
paying
wouldn't
two
feel comfortable with
receivers
that.
that much money when you have a not good defense
It doesn't
is just
work.
not sound team building, in my opinion.
Well,
Just have to
here's
figure
what
out
ruins
how
team
to,
building,
we just have
John.
to figure out how to draft defense.
Well, yeah.
Individuals who want a lot of money ruin team building.
Well, it's even if you bring the whole clan back like they're wanting to do, and I think they've been very adamant. Burrow has been the most adamant on even Hendrickson
don't bring
included.
back Hendrickson.
I think the problem with that is, though, you already saw how that went this past year. Why would you want to run that back knowing you're going to have an even worse defense, considering you're going to pay Chase that money? It's less cap. And even, yes, with the cap boom we talked about, but guess who's going to be all going to? Jamar Chase.
Yep.
And obviously partially of T. Higgins if you bring him back. And then Hendrickson, I think he's obviously the lone man out.
I think
if that were to happen.
Just trade for Jonathan Mingo at
so.
this point.
Oh my
I don't know.
God. So what I'm hearing people say is that we should trade Higgins and try
No.
and draft a wide receiver.
No,
like
that's
a
the
sign and
same
trade.
thing.
The only wide receiver I would feel comfortable in this draft replacing T. Higgins with
Mika.
is Tetaroa McMillan.
He's not.
They are
following
the
you guys.
exactly.
Mika
That's why I
Ibuka.
don't feel comfortable with it.
I
And
just
Buka
think
would
you
fall to
have
you.
to allocate resources differently than what you had last
So
year.
my-
And your offense might take a step back, but it'll make an overall more sound team. I
Why
feel
would
like.
we want one of the best offenses in the NFL to take a step back?
So,
Get a
you
load
can
of
have
this guy.
Yeah,
respect.
get a
You
load.
can have a respectable defense instead of
I-
dog.
It's not that bad. Oh, wah,
Whack.
wah, wah. Anyways.
I kind of understand that. I say, John, I'll agree with you there to an extent. I mean, obviously, what I'm trying to kind of explain this in the right way without fumbling my words. I think you obviously saw they had one of the best offenses in the league, obviously having Chase and Higgins. But I think also to an extent, I mean, if you that's the problem. I mean, Hendrickson led the league in sacks this past year.
He's not going to do that every year.
Oh, no. He probably, in a bold claim, may not even do it ever
Okay.
again.
Nope, he probably won't.
They also have a new DC, so let's maybe assume that things are going to at least get a little bit better under a new regime, a new scheme.
But so
Players
you're gonna
really-
well, even if you assume that though,
New
you're
canvas has been drawn for this defense.
you're still gonna lose more defensive talent
Okay.
re-signing everybody.
Let's be honest. If this defense just gets a little bit better, they were mediocre this year. They get to subpar. They're going to win a few more games and maybe make the playoffs.
But if you
My-
sign everybody, they're gonna get worse.
My dream offseason.
they don't need a
My dream offseason.
elite defense. They need an okay defense.
So my dream offseason right now, as of right now, obviously this is barring anything else coming out from the media, obviously re-sign Jamar Chase. He's priority one. Get T. Higgins on some kind of long-term deal. I know he said he's willing to take a pay cut. Burrow's willing to restructure his contract. That is positive. T. Higgins wants to stay. He's publicly said it multiple times that he wants to stay in Cincinnati with Chase and Burrow. Let Hendrickson go. Obviously, it's going to sound interesting coming from a top 2 defensive player of the year candidate just to let him walk. You don't gain anything from keeping him. That, like I said, this is a very deep edge rusher class. And if I'm going off of dream offseason, James Pierce, first round.
Mike Green.
There's your replacement. You have a replacement for him on a rookie contract. That's what you need is a solid defensive player. Look at the Eagles. Half of their defense is on rookie contracts, and they just won a Super Bowl. You have to be able to draft quality defensive players in the late rounds.
Find the hidden gems.
Oh man,
We need a Howie.
I think someone
we need
that-
to fire our
Do you
GM,
think
man.
it's
Someone that screwed you over, I think a lot. Jermaine Burton. He so
oh,
screwed you
Mr.
over.
Pajama
Okay,
Pants.
I don't even care about Burton.
If-
Andre
if-
O'Shivas is our wide receiver 3.
If he would have lived up to that hype, you could allow, I think, T. Higgins to go. Because then you'd have kind of someone in that wide receiver who
I
could
think
step
he's
up.
he's like George Pickens if he wasn't good.
You guys should trade
Yeah.
up in the second round to try to get Mike Green.
No. If we
Mike
dra-
Green
if we
would be
draft an
great.
edge rusher in the first
I
round,
think Mike Green's fallen in
Huh?
the second round.
I've heard either second or first.
I've heard him going top 10.
I've heard him
not
going
going-
out
He's
of
not
that.
going
He's
top
gonna
10.
he's gonna test really well. it
He is
sounds
going to
like.
test really well.
He had a really good Senior
I
Bowl,
think
like
I
we
think
talked
the
about
best
last week.
best
He's
he'll
Abdul
get
Carter, run a 5.4.
be that I think that the low 20s. I think is where he
What
would
for
go.
Mike
in the
Green?
first
Yeah,
I think
round.
that's
to
where-
32
That's-
range.
I think he'll rise, but I mean, I struggle. I mean, we have to move on, but I
We
just
do.
struggle to see. You have a bad defense, and just why would you let your best defensive player walk?
He's aging. He's not going to do that again. And we could get younger guys on cheaper
But
deals.
even that, he's still gonna be
Bingo.
an above average edge rusher. For
Yeah,
a while.
he
I don't
doesn't
think
have
he can
that
let
I would
walk.
I would much rather take a gamble on a cheap rookie being a solid edge rusher than an aging veteran that just came off of the best season of his career and is going to tank.
It's time to just reload that defense.
Yeah, I
let's be
think
honest.
Reload it.
Yeah,
that's mine.
Having a rookie edge rusher on that contract though means you're going to have to rely more on that secondary. I
Yeah.
think that's the big factor with that big risk.
There'll
And
probably be some free agents.
And like I said, if we don't go edge rusher in the first round, I'm seeing Malachi Starks getting mocked outside the 15. That's one guy that I think could definitely elevate a defense. You've got guys like Jalen Walker out there. Basically any Georgia guy. Draft somebody from Georgia. Do what the Eagles do. They draft Georgia guys because they know they're good. But let's move on. We've been talking about the Cincinnati Bengals for a long time. I could talk about it for years. But Veteran quarterbacks this year. It's going to be a very interesting offseason for veteran quarterbacks. Obviously, we start with the main guy that will obviously tip all the dominoes, Matt Stafford. There's a lot of talk that Matt Stafford wants to stay in LA if they offer him a new contract, but there's a lot of sources saying that the Rams might move on from him because apparently Sean McVay likes Jimmy Garoppolo.
He's too much money.
Why did I hear?
He's on $45 million a year.
None of it's guaranteed.
He's
though.
only guaranteed $4 million.
I've heard that
next
they
year.
just had
I thought
trouble
it was
restructuring his
It's
contract.
$4 million.
They did have a hard time restructuring his contract last year. I've heard the big reason is really that the Rams are a very young team. They're a surprisingly young team, which is strange because they were on the older end in that Super Bowl run they had a couple years ago. But they really built a really nice young core. I think they kind of want to get their quarterback of the future to go along with that core. And Matt Stafford is going to command a lot of money, and you might want to. It's debatable to pay him that. I think this is all a smoke screen. I think he ends up staying, but it is intriguing largely because of how many teams would just kill to have a Matt Stafford right now.
So I was watching ESPN, and I've been keeping up with Schefter's podcast. Obviously, he's one of the only people you can trust in football media nowadays, but it really all the signs point to there's not going to be a lot of veteran quarterback controversy this offseason if Matt Stafford re-signs. If Matt Stafford does not re-sign and they trade him, which most likely right now it's looking like if they trade him, it's going to be to New York to go to the Giants.
And
But
I can lay on this just from a New York perspective as a guy who hears a lot about the Giants, even though I'm a Jets fan. I hear a lot. The Giants are in a very weird spot right now because Shane and Dable are basically lame ducks at this point. They kind of have to win right now. Based on, I think Mara said
to keep their jobs.
Mara said he refused to say if they're safe for next year. He said, I don't know. I have to feel better about the team, which is kind of like hey, this game's got to get better.
Not a big
So
vote of
They got to put
confidence.
up a Mike Tomlin performance to keep their job for another year. Draft some more players. I think that you want Matt Stafford with Malik Neighbors would be nice,
But
and he's not.
I don't see it working. The
He
Giants
still
are so
has the
bad.
talent. He still has the
Giants are-
stats.
but the Giants are terrible.
I would just like to say that if Matt Stafford goes to the Giants, I think what they're missing is veteran presence. There's a lot of different personalities in this locker room, and I think if you bring in a vet who's won it, like Matt Stafford, that brings a big perspective. And obviously that helps Malik Neighbors' development.
Yes.
I think dream offseason for the Giants, you get Matt Stafford in a trade and you draft Jackson Dart. You let him sit, and then there's your franchise quarterback pretty much right there.
The Rams keep him and do that exact same thing.
I definitely feel like the Giants are going to add a experienced veteran. I've heard a lot of smoke about Russell Wilson there just
Rodgers.
because Rodgers is nuts.
Okay.
Rodgers is gonna
I don't
Rodgers is
think
gonna have
Russell
no
will go
market.
there.
I'm saying Rodgers is
John,
gonna have no market.
I think Russell go to the Raiders.
I
He's
think
going to want to
Russ-
link back up with
I
Pete
think
Carroll.
Russ really wanted to be in New York for a while. I think he's a good veteran presence.
I
The thing
doubt
about him is
You guys wanna
he's
hear-
not going to block a rookie quarterback.
You guys want to hear something
good.
funny? You know who had vaguely similar stats?
To who?
Stafford and Rodgers. They had very similar
Okay.
stat lines.
Rodgers was all empty stats.
But
it was all
It
against,
was empty
it was
stats,
empty
but
stats.
it's just interesting to look at.
Stafford still makes throws that are still high caliber
Well, he
quarterback
took his team to the
throws
playoffs.
across the body. He's able to. I don't know. He's somewhat. I wouldn't call him mobile, but he can
Yeah.
move out of the pocket at least.
He gets around, but there's an interesting scenario where obviously if you follow football, you know that Aaron Rodgers is from California. There's an interesting stat where if Stafford decides, or the Rams decide to move on from Matthew Stafford, LA would be Rodgers' preferred destination.
I don't see
Filling
Rodgers
in for
having
Stafford.
any more. First off, I don't see McVay
Why do I
wanting
feel
to go
like
down
that's-
the Rodgers
Oh
search.
my
Jimmy,
God.
Jimmy Garoppolo is a veteran. It's the same thing.
In my honest opinion, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is done with football entirely.
I don't
is
think he
not.
wants
I think
to
you're
be.
gonna get one or
I
two
don't
more
think
years
he's
out of
gonna.
him, but-
I don't see who would want to sign on for him.
John, there's a lot of teams right now that do not have a good quarterback that would kill for Aaron Rodgers.
The
Aaron
Pittsburgh
Rodgers is
Steelers
not
are a
that good right
destination.
now.
No,
Aaron
no, no, no,
Rodgers
no,
is
no.
not
Just
that
because
good
they saw
anymore.
each other in therapy, that doesn't mean anything.
And speaking of the Steelers, there's smoke that Russell Wilson does want to re-sign. He's come out and publicly said
Rooney
that
also said that he would prefer Russell Wilson.
he would
over,
prefer Russ.
Which I
But-
don't know why,
So
Rooney. Why would
dumb.
you say that?
This all depends on Pittsburgh's front office. Because Russell Wilson is one of those guys that will give you his time. He will give you his loyalty if you reciprocate. So
I don't
it's
like
all
this.
it's all on the front office in Pittsburgh.
You
But
want the young guy. That's all I'm going to say to
that's
that.
that's really all we have for vet quarterbacks. It's going to be an interesting offseason for guys that we all grew up watching. But obviously there's somebody that requested a trade, and it's not to Whataburger, it's to another NFL team. It's Deebo Samuel. It's good. This Niners team is slowly falling apart. And there's talk that Brock Purdy will command $65 million a year.
I'm sorry, more than Dak Prescott?
Yep.
Why did you
That's
use
real.
Dak Prescott?
Because he was the highest paid
He's the highest
quarterback,
paid.
and then he, I don't really know how to say this. He dropped something. He dropped the ball on
His
that team.
hamstring.
Don't worry, guys. We'll go to the Super Bowl.
I mean,
They
this
didn't go to
kind
the
of
Super
feels
Bowl.
inevitable with
Got
Deebo.
embarrassed in the Simpsons game.
Ever since they drafted Ricky Pearsall, it was kind of inevitable that one of Debo or Ayuk wasn't sticking around. They brought Ayuk back in the late offseason stages last year, and it kind of felt like Debo was kind of playing his way out. And I mean, it's a shame because he's very valuable to this team.
He
but
wasn't putting up that production, though. He
just
I
wasn't.
gave him that
And I
deal
think,
back then.
I think this 49ers window is over. I think
it's over too.
Debo's been falling.
They had their
health-wise,
chance
too.
They have
last year when they played the Chiefs and lost in overtime.
That's what you get for paying everybody a bunch of money. Javon Hargrave is leaving, and a bunch of other players are leaving.
Obviously, our roommate is a Niners fan, and we have been told multiple times that the Niners have 33 unrestricted free agents this year, including Dre Greenlaw, which is going to be really fun
Dre
to watch.
Greenlaw and Hufunga's the other big one.
Hufunga's another big
I've
one.
heard is,
Charvarius
not
Ward is
coming
another
back.
big one.
Javon Hargrave is a big one.
Yeah, he just wants to get out. Honestly, can't really blame
Given
him.
what he's gone through.
Can't really blame him if you know what he's gone through.
Expect Brock Purdy to regress a little bit next year.
A little
I'm
bit.
high on Brock Purdy.
I'm trying to
than
be
most.
nice.
I'm higher on Brock Purdy than most, but I just think that this team really, they need to retool for the future. And I mean, they have a good regime and they have a good front office and a good coach.
John, this is what you get. They tried to build a super team to win a Super Bowl. They didn't win, and this is the consequence of when you lose everything.
Like the Eagles. They're like the bad version of the Eagles. In a
It
sense.
just seems like the 49ers are like kind of building the recipe to going into mediocrity for a couple of years. Kind of rebuild and kind of retool their roster before they start getting good again.
All right. Do we have anything else we need to talk about? I think that's
I want RJ's comments and thoughts about Matt Patricia and Ohio State.
Give it to us in 3 words.
College football. Wait and see.
Okay. I was going to say not that great, but
You could have done so much better. I think the other Brian Hartline as the OC was better, for my opinion. But, John, I think we'll kind of leave this as a teaser. We won't go into it, really. But the smoke screen for the Jets get #1. Will it happen?
there is buzz about that.
There is some buzz about that.
But,
I mean, I'm hearing, the more I hear, the more I didn't think we're going to be in the market for a quarterback, even with Rodgers gone. But it's looking like we're leaning towards a rookie now.
I think you'll get some news on it on Friday because Rossini's going to write about it.
Yes,
you know
there
what?
will.
You know
So
what's
wait
more
and see.
interesting? What we're going to do next week.
Yes, we will have some interesting episodes coming out for you guys. Not our typical content, but we will be getting some different content out to you guys.
Let's kind of go into this dead part of the offseason where
Yeah.
there's not much going on.
We're going to do a draft
season.
recap here.
We'll do mock drafts soon, but Dom and I have a special one coming out for you. I know we have a bunch of different ideas being thrown around, but we will get that out to you guys as soon as we can. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Stirring the Pot. Preach and peace.